What's up, everybody? Chris here from Fake Sports News, bringing you a roster video. So I'm going to talk about the rosters for the Call of Duty Black Ops 4 season for our first event in December, Vegas. So first roster I'm going to talk about is the Optic roster, of course. So it's going to be a pretty good year for Optic Call of Duty with Crimsix, Karma, Scump, TJ, and Dashy. I think that the OG roster looks to be back in form going into the Black Ops 4 season. So it should be a pretty good year, but we'll see what happens. Um, Next roster I'm going to talk about is 100 Thieves. Of course, one of the biggest stories this offseason was 100 Thieves re-entering the Call of Duty scene with the owner Nadeshot, of course. So it was nice to see 100 Thieves pick up the Team Caliber team. So they picked up Pharaoh, Enable, and Kenny. Assault wasn't taken in a trade, of course, because they got Slasher and Octane, two of the best three ARs over the last 4 to 5 years. So there was no point in even trying for Assault. The 100 Thieves roster looks pretty nasty, honestly. I expect them to be in the top 3 all year, along with OG. Next roster I want to talk about is Envy. So they kept Hook on the roster, and then they added the EG Championship roster, which featured Silly, Assault, Apathy, and Aches. So I would definitely keep an eye out for Envy. They're looking to be very strong going into the next year. FaZe, of course, adding methods to the roster. So now their roster consists of Priesta, Attach, Replays, Zuma, Methods. So I think FaZe, they have a good chance next year. Methods, of course, was the best player in World War II, statistically speaking. So I think FaZe has a good chance to keep hold on their spot in the top 4 going into next year. Another big team was Red Reserve, of course, adding Bance to the roster. They just got better with this trade. Getting Bance, of course, in addition to Scraps, Rated, Zero, and Joe. Best team in the EU, without a doubt, Red Reserve last year. One of the best teams in NA, so pretty hard to argue with their team this year. I think, if all goes well, they will definitely remain in the top 4 as they were last year. They were a bit inconsistent with their placings, so we'll see. But, Red Reserve is almost guaranteed to be a top 6 team all year with that roster. Next team is LG, of course. They only got better this year. Slacked, Gunless, Classic, Formal, and John. That's just a nasty core right there. Formal, John, Gunless, of course, being 3 of the best players last year. Of course, Formal isn't in the same form as he was when he was on the OG roster, but it was Karma, Crimsix, Formal, and Scump. That's just unreal. Formal is still one of the best players in Call of Duty, one of the best ARs, one of the most consistent players, one of the best slayers that there is to offer. So LG, they're looking very solid this year. They're another team that could potentially be in the top 4. There's a lot of potential for different teams to enter the top 4 and exit, just based on how they perform at any given event. So LG is another team to watch out for this year. E6 added Cade, Diabolic, and Frosty to the roster, as well as Kismet. So we have Cade, we have General, we have Diabolic, we have Frosty, we have Kismet. Of course, Frosty's coming from the Halo scene, so that'll be a pretty interesting transition to see how he plays going from the Halo scene to playing Call of Duty this year, a la Formal, Enable. We'll see if he can have some success, maybe win some championships. But E6 is looking pretty good. We'll see how they do. Hopefully they can secure some top 6, top 8 placings. Anything better than that, obviously, is not expected, but it's definitely going to be enjoyed by those players. Next roster we have is EG. Their roster is Saints, Gunjar, Felony, Royalty, and Lacefield. Roster full of solid players. Not too sure that they'll place in the top 8 consistently. I would say that this is probably more of a top 12, maybe coming out of open bracket, but they could surprise us. They have some pretty quality players on that roster. The next team, Splice, their first team. Of course, Splice having 2 teams. That was a big announcement this offseason. So their main roster is Looney, Temp, Aqua, Jerd, and Accuracy. Of course, accuracy, the remaining player from the TK roster, finishing second at champs. And then they built around Looney, Temp, Aqua, and Jerd, which are four of the best players that I've always felt have been slept on by big organizations. So it'll be interesting to see how this team of really slept on players performs this year. Um, because it reminds me of the old Denial squad from Champs. It was a lot of players that everyone had kind of thrown to the side, but they have so much talent, they have so much to prove. Those are usually very dangerous teams. Um, so I would definitely watch out for this Splice roster. They can definitely make some noise, cause some serious upsets at events going forward. Definitely a team to watch out for all year, I would say. The next roster we have is E United. Clayster, Cristini, Arcedes, JCap, and ABZ. So obviously ABZ, an up and coming young player. We'll see how he performs. I mean, he was making noise all last year. So he's a great up and coming young player. We'll see how he performs. Of course, adding JCap to the roster, we get some veteran leadership there that was much needed for this E United team, in my opinion. Having Clay on the roster was great for the Twins, but I think that they needed some more uh, coaching and just advice in tough situations. I mean, I found that the team, they have good composure, don't get me wrong, but there were definitely some situations where they could have clearly used some veteran leadership, and I think that JCap will definitely add that to this team, and E United can definitely make some deep runs at tournaments. This is one of the pieces that they were missing before, in my opinion. I felt that with Felony, I mean, he's a veteran, but I just don't think that anyone can really question the leadership of JCap or Clayster at this point. So I think that the United roster, I think that they're in good hands now, and they have a very good chance to uh, reclaim their position in the top four again this year, like they did in, of course, IW. Um, so we're winding down here. Last few rosters that we have. The second Splice team, which consists of Stellar, Teddy Rex, Eco, Renegade, and Ramby. So, of course, this is a big announcement because their core players, minus Shotzi, are coming to Call of Duty, and they're also competing in Halo at the same time. So they're going to be competing in two esports at the same time. Huge announcement. First time it's ever been done. So we'll see how the Splice roster does in Halo and COD, because they've been running rampant through Halo for the last year. They've beaten Tox at just about every event. Tox just got their first victory at the last Halo LAN, but it was the first time that they had beaten Splice in, I want to say, a year. This team has looked phenomenal. Their teamwork and their synergy is just unquestionable. They don't even practice. They just go to events and just do what they do, and they win. So I would like to see how that strategy carries over into Call of Duty, if it does at all. I assume that they're going to have to devise some sort of strategy for S&D and the respawn game modes, but we'll see. Um, so I'm excited to see how these players place. I always love seeing Halo players come into the Call of Duty space and make some noise. The Halo community is awesome, and I think that Halo is really a precursor to success for any up and coming Call of Duty player. Um, so we'll see how these guys do. But I think that this year definitely the skill gap will be pretty wide since it's a Black Ops game. Black Ops games usually have a pretty good skill gap. I mean, there isn't a lot of randomness to the tournaments. Um, the consistency of placing is a lot better, and also just the consistency of the game, the way it plays out, spawns, everything. It's Call of Duty, so spawns are always going to be very hectic and crazy. But I would say that Black Ops definitely has the most consistency esports wise. So it should be a pretty good year. Competition is at an all time high. I know we say that every year, but this year it's definitely been proven. World War II competition was insane. So if this year is even half as exciting as World War II, then we're definitely in for a great season. And for the first time in Call of Duty history, I think pretty much every roster has a fighting chance. Um, yeah, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.